Nest, baby. YDCP. Oh yeah.
Where the money?
Cloud Kings.
High now, don't ever wanna come down. Not from this drug that I found. Not until I overdose on you. Not until I overdose on you. High now, don't ever wanna come down. Not from this drug that I found. Not until I overdose on you. Not until I overdose on you.
Mix that broken heart with this broken kush. I'm from Baghdad, I don't fuck with Bush. You and I are something good, but don't fall in love, girl, I'm nothing good. She love a man, it's tragic. She love that I'm a savage. She said the dope dick could turn the situation to a habit. She fine as fuck, I'm Roger Rabbit. Pussy good, I give her all these carrots, all the scars and all the baggage. I drive her crazy, she automatic. She want that seat right next to my throne. Damn, that bitch dead bad to the bone. I still got my guards up. Your wall has been overthrown. I fuck her with my J's on. I fuck her while my J's lit. She getting high and giving head. That's what I call a facelift. We rolling paper spaceships. I taste it, I crush it back till it caves in. I'm dazed out of the days in. It's amazing. She said, fuck me like you don't wanna leave. And if we take off all the clothes, we can't wear our hearts on the sleeves.
High now, don't ever wanna come down. Not from this drug that I found. Not until I overdose on you. Not until I overdose on you. High now, don't ever wanna come down. Not from this drug that I found. Not until I overdose on you. Not until I overdose on you.
Treat it like my smoke, always hit that good. Treat it like my syrup, she leaning off that wood. I'm alone in here, biblical times, I'm a stoner here. It's cold in here, but if she got the coke, she a polar bear. I got the smoke, I'm a floating here. She said groupies making I want to care. I told her love is not always fair. Relationships is just floating tears. Yeah, I got my bone here. She got scars on her, she don't wanna bear. She got clothes on her and I wanna bear. Live in that pussy, I'm the owner here. Live in that pussy, I'm the owner here. I got emotions I don't wanna feel. Realizing everyone ain't loyal, that's gon' make it real. Yeah, you know it's real. Bow down, the God is real. They biting off me, I'm Holyfield. Fighting for me, I'm the Holy Grail. It's necessary. She fucking with who about to be this legendary. Gold chains, hit the face, we missionary. She said, fuck me like you don't wanna leave. And if we take off all the clothes, we can't wear our hearts on the sleeves.
High now, don't ever wanna come down. Not from this drug that I found. Not until I overdose on you. Not until I overdose on you. High now, don't ever wanna come down. Not from this drug that I found. Not until I overdose on you. Not until I overdose on you.
It's Nest, baby. YDCP.
Where the money?
Cloud Kings.
don't ever wanna come down. Not from this drug that I found. Not until I overdose on you. Not until I overdose on you.
Mix that broken heart with this broken kush. I'm from Baghdad, I don't fuck with Bush. You and I are something good, but don't fall in love, girl, I'm nothing good. She love a man, it's tragic. She love that I'm a savage. She said the dope dick could turn the situation to a habit. She fine as fuck, I'm Roger Rabbit. Pussy good, I give her all these carrots, all the scars and all the baggage. I drive her crazy, she automatic. She want that seat right next to my throne. Damn, that bitch dead bad to the bone. I still got my guards up. Your wall has been overthrown. I fuck her with my J's on. I fuck her while my J's lit. She getting high and giving head. That's what I call a facelift. We rolling paper spaceships. I taste it, I crush it back till it caves in. I'm dazed out of the days in. It's amazing. She said, fuck me like you don't wanna leave. And if we take off all the clothes, we can't wear our hearts on the sleeves.
High and I don't ever wanna come down. Not from this drug that I found. Not until I overdose on you. Not until I overdose on you. High and I don't ever wanna come down. Not from.
All right, I'm live, I think. I hope everything's working right. I tested before because my mic is connected by USB to my computer, but my camera is connected separately, and I've never connected the two separately before, so I'm a little worried that stuff's not going to work. But you know what? I think it's working, so it's all good. All right, let's. So I'm just going to give you a breakdown of what I think are the top 3 races in the midterms next week. And I'm also going to continuously encourage you to vote because, my God, you have to vote. Look, if you're watching this stream, I assume you've already voted or you are going to vote. But if you haven't, this is a very important midterm. And this is coming from somebody who doesn't even live in your country. But what your country does affects everyone else around the world, especially Canada. So please vote now. Of course, I look at the chat right at the time that someone says, David, take your shirt off. No, that's not happening. But I will be taking your questions later, super chat questions, and I'll also be taking patron questions. I put a post, if you are a patron, I put a post up just recently taking your questions. So if you have a question, comment, send it in. I will read it, and I will not forget to do that. But first, all right, also super chat as well. So any super chats I'll also be reading. And if you get lucky, maybe the random comment or question that I see. I have this, so my setup now, usually I don't have the chat right in front of me, but now I have the chat in front of me and I have my notes and I got my screen here. I'm controlling everything. It's a little nuts, but no one's complaining about my audio, so I think everything's working good. All right, cool. So the top 3 races in the midterms. Now, the way I have picked this is I've chosen one Senate race, one gubernatorial race, and one congressional race. So I also have a couple of videos to show for one of these races, which may give away what one of the races are. Actually, let me save that one till the last, because I think that's the most interesting race. Let me just... Okay, so good. I'm getting notifications saying that I'm getting comments on Patreon. All right, so I'll take those questions later. So let me go with the first, actually runner-up. So this is a race that did not make it into my top 3, but I do think it is important to watch. And if you are in Florida, you have to vote. So this is DeSantis versus Andrew Gillum. So Andrew Gillum is... People forget what the conversation was like just 2 years ago. 2 years ago, Andrew Gillum would be considered a fairly strong progressive. Now, no one's Bernie Sanders, so stop making that comparison. Nobody has a 40-year history of being on the same side of every issue for the past 40 years. No one has a history like Bernie Sanders. So stop comparing everyone to Bernie Sanders. But separate from that, Andrew Gillum is strong on these issues. He's strong on healthcare. And I know some of his language isn't perfect for some of you crazy people. But you have to understand, the battle for the progressive ideas happens in the primaries. That's when that happens. And Andrew Gillum, out of the candidates in the primary for the Democratic Party, was, from my understanding, the most progressive person in that race. He came from 4th place, ended up winning, getting the nomination, and now you have to vote for him over this crazy racist fuck DeSantis. So I've covered, I think, 1 or 2 other debates. Or did I? I covered at least one of their debates. I may have not posted the video because I think by the time I was, there was some reason I didn't post the video. I don't think I didn't go as in depth into the debate that I wanted to, and then I ended up not covering it at all. So you know what? If you're a patron, maybe I'll post that video for you. It's kind of late now, but it was one of Gillum's responses to a question about DeSantis and DeSantis being racist. And I thought it was the most perfect response. So I don't have a clip of it here, but you can go check it out. He says that I'm not calling DeSantis racist. I'm simply saying the racists think he's racist. Now, if that isn't the most perfect way to call somebody a racist without directly calling them a racist, I don't know what is. I thought that was brilliant. So, if Andrew Gillum was Hillary Clinton, I would still be telling you to vote for Hillary Clinton because that's how bad DeSantis is. But Andrew Gillum is not a Hillary Clinton. Andrew Gillum is much better than Hillary Clinton. You have to vote for Andrew Gillum. So that is my runner-up that didn't make the top 3, but it's also a very important race and one where I haven't seen much talk or any talk about there being voter tampering or disenfranchisement as much in Florida as I have in other states. So it's one where I really think Andrew Gillum can and will win because I don't see the system working against him necessarily in that state. And that's not what I could really say for some of these other races that I'm going to get to here. So let me go to, these aren't really in order, but let me go to Texas. So Texas, this, let's say, is one of the top 3 races, I think, to watch in the midterms. And of course, it's Beto O'Rourke going up against Ted Cruz. Again, this is a very similar situation in a way to Gillum and DeSantis in the sense that O'Rourke isn't the perfect candidate, if you really want to break it down, but Ted Cruz. Now, I know people are going to say, oh, but the lesser of two evils. No, this is not even a lesser of two evils. Beto O'Rourke is a fantastic candidate, especially for Texas. In Texas, you could have had somebody like Joe Manchin. So, Beto O'Rourke is leagues better than Joe Manchin. Understand, especially for Texas, Beto O'Rourke is a fantastic candidate. He is not only great on the social issues, which he's displayed over and over again, but he's also open to ideas like Medicare for all. And I understand some of his language isn't perfect around some of these economic progressive issues, but he talks about them. He's somebody that you can push once they are in. So again, this is a race that is so important. I have a friend in Texas. I should text him again to remind him to make sure he's voting, make sure his family's voting, because this race, look, I want to see Ted Cruz lose more than I want to see Beto O'Rourke win. Beto O'Rourke, as I said, is a great candidate. I think he's fantastic. But Ted Cruz is, let me put it this way. Ted Cruz is more of a bad person than Beto O'Rourke is a great candidate. So seeing Ted Cruz out would just be perfect. I can't imagine anybody even people that are moderate right-wingers, moderate conservatives. Everybody hates Ted Cruz. The entire Senate hates Ted Cruz. And now they all have to pretend, oh, because we need his vote on some of these issues, yeah, let's work with Ted Cruz. Trump out there campaigning with Ted Cruz after all the shit he said about his dad, about his wife. I mean, Ted Cruz is the saddest person alive. you have to vote for Beto O'Rourke if you're in Texas. I mean, what else is there to say? I assume if you're in my chat and you're in Texas, you are planning to vote or you have already voted. If not, then I'm not taking your question. But if you have voted for Beto O'Rourke, then I will be open to taking your question. If you know it's a super chat or a patron question. Let's move on. So I've done Andrew Gillum DeSantis, Beto O'Rourke, Ted Cruz. I'm going to save the video stuff that I have for last. So let me go to the second, or one of the, second of the three big races that I think are the most important to watch in the midterms. And that's Stacey Abrams going up against Brian Kemp. Now, this is one where, actually, this also relates to the Texas race, but voter disenfranchisement, the purge that happened in Georgia there. I mean, here is a situation where, much like Beto O'Rourke and Ted Cruz, where there are machines, I think it's like 30% of machines is what I was reading, have an issue with recording the vote. So 30% of machines in Texas, if you hit Democrat and you do all Democrat ticket, it actually switches your vote to Ted Cruz. Now, you can go down, scroll down, apparently, and individually select and change it to Beto O'Rourke. But if 30% of machines have the possibility of doing that, that could easily swing the election in favor of Ted Cruz, which is another reason why you have to make sure to go out and vote. But also in Georgia, where the vote is being essentially pushed down and people are potentially not able to vote on voting day. Again, another situation where it's so important to vote, because if you have the ability to vote and you're not purged from the list, then your vote really matters. And this is another close race where, I mean, Brian Kemp has control over the voting rolls. The whole situation is so fucked up. So, again, Stacey Abrams is a fantastic candidate, and I'm sure people could find issues that they have with her too. But all these, as I said earlier, all of the discussion around who should be the best Democrat in the race should happen during the primary. But once that is over and the candidate is chosen, you vote for the Democrat, because that means that is your only power. That is your only pressure point. So if they win, if Stacey Abrams wins, if Beto O'Rourke wins, if Andrew Gillum wins, your only point of attack is to pressure them when they're in office. If they're not there and it's a Republican, you have no power. You have zero power. So it is so important to vote. Even if you don't love the candidate you were voting for, you have the potential to move them on these issues. Now, let me go to, there's a lot of chat going on. I'll get there in a second. The last most important race, and then I'll do all the Q&A stuff. The most important race, or one of the three most important races, is with this guy. I'll show you in a second because I'm going to introduce him. Richard Ojeda. Richard Ojeda. So this is, in my opinion, the most important congressional race. Richard Ojeda going up against Carol Miller. Now, this is in West Virginia. I forgot to look up which district it is. I think it's the 2nd district. But it's in West Virginia. And this is where Ojeda, the Democrat, has closed a 50-point gap in Trump country. Now, how has he done that? With incredible ads like this.
I'm Richard Ojeda, and people say that I'm angry. Well, angry is an understatement. When I come home and I find that I got children in my backyard that have it worse than the kids that I saw in Iraq and Afghanistan, I can't accept that. When I see companies using bankruptcy loopholes to keep from paying our coal miners the pensions that they work for, I will not sit quiet. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been sold out. We've been sold out by people like Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, and the Washington Insiders. I approve this message because I am angry and I'm ready to fight back.
I mean, this guy is incredible. If he's able to come back in Trump country and win this race, this is the blueprint for Democrats in red states moving forward. This is how you fight. You call them out in the corruption. You're not afraid to call out the leadership in the party. He calls out Nancy Pelosi in his own party, in his ad. This is how you win. So Ojeda is essentially acting as an independent, but he's running as a Democrat in this race. And he has closed this 50-point gap and has the ability to actually win in Trump country because of this approach that he's taken. This guy is the perfect candidate. And he is look, even if he loses, the fact that he's come this close shows you that this should be emulated elsewhere. Now, let me show you his other ad, which is also fantastic.
I'm Richard Ojeda. Drug companies have made millions pouring their opioids into our communities, ripping apart our families. What has Carol Miller done? She's accepted campaign cash from the very same companies responsible. She's even profiting from this epidemic, an epidemic that has killed thousands of West Virginians. She actually owns stock in one of the companies responsible for it all, McKesson. I approve this message because Carol Miller's not going to fight this opioid epidemic, but I will.
Yo, this guy he's so fucking good. He is so good. He calls out the corruption, directly connects her to the money that she's taken, to the money that she's invested in these companies that have destroyed West Virginia. He exposes all of that, while at the same time also being free to take on the Democratic Party establishment. I mean, you can't get a better candidate. This Richard Ojeda is the blueprint, I think, for Democrats moving forward, especially in red districts or red states. All right. Third district. Someone just messaged me, Steve Thomas. Thank you for the super chat. He's in third district. All right. West Virginia, third district. Make sure you vote for Richard Ojeda. Okay. I'm going to take questions. Let me go to patrons first and figure out what the hell I'm doing. So bear with me as I find these super chats because for some reason they're elusive. You know what? I'll do patrons first, and then super chats because I don't know exactly where all the super chats are. Okay. Wow, there's already a lot. All right. From Dara Parsavand on Patreon. What do you think of a proposal to get the Democrats to run their 2020 primary with ranked choice voting ballot at least in every state? Even better in one national election, since processing ranked choice voting ballots is better in one go. So that sounds fine on the face of it. There must be a process in place to actually have to implement that, though. So, like theoretically speaking, ranked choice voting is fantastic, but how would they implement that? That sounds like something that the DNC would have to approve and have to go through a whole process for. So I don't see that happening. But I support ranked choice voting. I support any form of proportional representation. First past the post is a terrible way to do elections. So that sounds like a good idea. I just don't know how they would actually implement that for 2020 without having to go through the whole DNC process. Let me go to Andrew Zygmunt Smith. I'm trying to find his question here. So a question on social media censorship. You were very outspoken about and supporting of Alex Jones' deplatformed in a coordinated way without any public process. We have seen thousands of left/left-leaning pages as well as conservative pages removed because Facebook has teamed up with Henry Kissinger and the Atlantic Council. Do you believe tech companies should still be able to remove anyone for any reason without public proceedings or constitutional oversight? So let me just address the very last thing you said there for a second. Constitutional oversight. I'm in Canada. So how would that apply to me? This is the thing with this censorship shit. People don't understand. These platforms are worldwide. How exactly or why would you go through the First Amendment process or the Constitution when you have other countries that also have their platforms open to these platforms? So I don't like this is the part that people haven't really thought out, because a lot of this conversation is surrounded around Americans, and they don't think outside about other countries and how they have to deal with this as well. So in terms of censorship, I don't even consider it censorship. Alex Jones. So first of all, let's dispel the bullshit about left-wing pages. Tell us, sir, Google this right now. Tell us, sir, in January was taken down from Facebook before it happened again over the summer. That happened before Alex Jones. Look this up too. YouTube pages, pro-cannabis YouTube pages were also taken down, I think like a year ago or 2 years ago. Also, before Alex Jones. This shit was already going on, guys. This is a free-for-all. So what you actually have to do now is voice your disconcern when there is when someone is taken down that should not be taken down. But if it's someone like Alex Jones, who would never in a million years defend you, then who gives a fuck? There is no slippery slope. As I said, they were already banning left-wing pages before. This is 100% a culture war. So you have to be able to stand on your side and understand that the other side is not going to defend you. So when Alex Jones breaks the terms of service multiple times, he puts people's lives on the line, innocent people, Sandy Hook parents. This is somebody that does not need to be defended. And look what's happened to him. People thought, oh, Alex Jones, once he gets to platform, it's going to make him even stronger. He's going to come back like the Hulk. Alex, where are you? Where'd you go? Where the fuck is Alex Jones? He's gone. So the idea that banning him, that deplatforming him would make him stronger is complete bullshit. Alex Jones, gone. Richard Spencer, gone. Milo, gone. Deplatforming works. And you have to use it, especially on fascists. So there is an article from the New York Times in 1934 saying how, oh, the Jews should be nice to the Nazis because if we're kind to them, then we can work with them. How'd that work out? You have to deplatform the people that are intolerant of you. You cannot tolerate the intolerant because once they get control, then they will put you in jail for speech. So we aren't even saying put these guys in jail for speech. Alex Jones can go make a website on whatever platform that allows him to. But don't tell me that he should be promoted, should be allowed on YouTube if he breaks their terms of service, or on Twitter if he breaks their terms of service. Now again, sure, they can change the rules and change their terms of service, but they can do that on anybody. And they have been doing it on anybody. Which is why when it happens to somebody like an asshole on the right, who gives a fuck? So understand what the terms of the game are here. You can't fight these people by allowing them on a platform. We're not throwing them in jail. But if they had the power over us, they would throw us in jail. That's the difference. All right. You can tell it's an issue I'm a little passionate about because there is just so much misinformation around it. Let me go to Andrew Zygmunt Smith has another question. You spoke loudly about your support of Gillum. I was wondering what your position on Tim Canova is. Andrew Gillum, the progressive, has been endorsed by and campaigned with Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Tim's opponent. Gillum is also supported by billionaire money and Hillary Clinton and has endorsed Schultz over Canova. If you do support Tim Canova, how can you support someone who is endorsed and supported by Schultz? Here's a quick answer. I don't know at all because I haven't followed that race one bit. So I know I dislike Debbie Wasserman Schultz, but I've also heard that Tim Canova has gone a little nutty. So I can't endorse Tim Canova either. I honestly don't care about that race. So if I read more about it, I would have an opinion, but I'm not going to give you an opinion if I haven't looked into it. So I don't know. But I do know that you should obviously vote for Andrew Gillum. I mean, who else are you going to vote for? All right. Another one. I cannot pronounce your name because there's lots of Y's in it. Reaver Mitsu, maybe that's what it is. Concerning the misinformation of Canada's UHC versus America's Profit First healthcare system. Oh, concerning the misinformation of Canada's universal healthcare versus America's Profit First healthcare system, what might you tell earnest, good people who seem convinced that logistics and geography would prevent any sort of universal health care from functioning in America. Is that a debate tactic they're using now? That because of logistics and geography, you can't do universal health care? How about Medicare that already exists? So if that's something they're saying, it's just complete bullshit. Canada, I'm not sure if you've looked at a map. Everybody that lives in Canada, or almost everyone, like 90% of people that live in Canada, live along the American border. And we're all spread out, just massively. And healthcare works fine. So I'm not sure how people think healthcare works in a universal system, but having the geography be spread out doesn't really change anything. But that's funny. If that's a debate point that they're trying to use now, conservatives against universal healthcare, it's just, I mean, they're really grasping for straws at this point. What books do you read to help you become more informed about politics? That's a good question. I am notoriously bad at finishing books. So I start a million books. I don't finish any of them. But I don't know. Listen Liberal is a good kind of like just basic understanding of how neoliberalism has sort of destroyed America and really a lot of politics worldwide. But actually, the perspective that I really try to come from is not even really political. It's more moral. So Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth, I think, is a fantastic book for understanding how the mind processes anger and fear and how to better react to people and how to sort of any tense situation, how to make it less tense and how to really talk to people and be able to try and convince them of the way forward. So that book wasn't really written for that purpose, but when you understand how people operate, how much the ego has control over your mind, then you better understand how to communicate politics. So that's sort of where I come from in terms of that. In terms of reading, most of my reading really is articles, is reading what's happening in the news, going back and reading older articles to see how different people had a perspective at the time on certain issues and how that perspective may have changed over time. So it's sort of all over the place. Okay, let me go to YouTube. If I can find out how to do super chat, I know I can. It's here somewhere. Just give me a second. This is always the fun process when I'm alone. It's just like no one else can figure this out. I got to figure it out. I think the problem is that I opened the chat window and I made it separate, which removed all the super chat from the page. Okay, let me scroll down. It's not showing up. Okay, I see. So one just came up. I will go back and find the old ones. Actually, maybe I can do it now. I think I missed one old super chat. I will get to it and find a way to read it. This is from the Natural Progressive. Thank you for your super chat. Mia Love looks like she will be out, down 6%. Also, Mitt Romney area has something screwy going on. Some getting 2 ballots, some getting none. So if Mia Love is out, that's fantastic. In terms of Mitt Romney, there's so much weirdness going on. So my prediction for the midterms is they will be fantastic for Democrats if the voting system doesn't screw everything up. So if the machines are doing what they're doing in Texas and voting for the wrong people, if there's more voter purges that we discover, if all that shit happens and people on voting day can't vote for whatever reason, that's what will damage Democrats. But if everything works properly, Democrats will be destroying Republicans. But it's hard to predict simply based on the fact that we don't know how all these systems are going to function on voting day. Let me scroll down. I saw another one. This is from Not Problematic Takes. Have you considered if Gillum were elected, the Republican legislature stripping him of meaningful power in a formalistic coup like in North Carolina? Sure, that's always possible. But does that we can play like this game all day. What if a nuke hits us tomorrow? Like, so many things can happen, and yes, that definitely can happen. But that's why you still push to elect progressives, push to elect Democrats, and then once they're in, you continue fighting. You don't just stop fighting. You have to continue the fight and ensure that that doesn't happen to Andrew Gillum. But I get your point that that crap can happen, but that's why you have to stay engaged. Gonna scroll down. Jay Camacho, David is hotter than Hassan Piker. Thank you. Funny story. I walked by Hassan once. I didn't say hi, but I saw him. That was interesting. I saw him in a room. Yeah, I didn't think to talk to him. He seems like a nice guy. Nothing against Hassan. Okay, I think there was an older super chat that I missed. I'm going to try to close this chat message, reload this page, and see if it shows up here. Because I don't want to miss it. I know there was somebody else. And then maybe, possibly, I'll take some random YouTube chats. Sorry guys, this is not loading properly. Okay, I will find this thing and I will ask the last questions. I need a new computer. This thing is slow. Okay, that's not the one. All right, I think I have it. Page is loading. I don't know what's going on. If there isn't... Finally. Okay, here we go. Oh. That whole time I was looking for these super chats and I got the old one. I thought I missed it. Okay. I think there's a new one now, though. If I did miss anyone's super chat, though, then I'm sorry. Because I can't find it. But no, I think I have them all here. Okay. This from Ruben Garcia. What is your opinion on Richard Ojeda's relationship to coal industry and climate change? Asking for Rachel. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. What is your opinion on Richard Ojeda's... I don't know. So, I don't know the intimate details of all these candidates. All I know is that Ojeda is calling out corruption of Carol Miller. Ojeda is somewhat progressive on many of these issues, especially for somebody running in a red district. So, look, the coal industry, if he has any connection to the coal industry, it's because he's from West Virginia. The guy voted for Donald Trump. So, I mean, if you're gonna hold this stuff to him, understand that, of course, he's not going to be perfect. He voted for Donald Trump. And then afterwards is someone now that's realizing, hey, Trump is not doing anything for us here, and I have changed my mind on Trump, and I'm going to push the candidate in my district to be better, or I'm going to beat her and be a better representative for my district. So, hat off to Richard Ojeda for actually being able to acknowledge his mistake and learn from it. But yeah, I mean, this is the issue with anything. Different districts, different states have their own specific industries, right? So there's going to be the best way for anyone to challenge the coal industry is to give them something to replace it with. Give them a new industry, give them job training. So you can't just simply rip away coal and say, there, fend for yourself. You have to understand that people's lives are at risk here in terms of their livelihoods. So you have to be able to come in with a new idea, a new job, a new industry, and invest in that to be able to replace those old coal jobs. Sean, I'm sorry, I'm bad at names. Sean Scollart, something like that. Ideal 2020 Dem ticket. For me, it's Bernie Tulsi. Let me tell you mine. So I've been thinking about this. Now, my number one ideal Dem ticket, I don't think is realistic. So the one that I would really hope would happen is Bernie Sanders and Nina Turner. I just don't think Nina Turner wants to be VP. I think she's a strong leader in the progressive movement for our revolution. I don't know if she wants to get out of that role. She hasn't really been in politics in the sense of representing people since she was an Ohio State senator. So I don't see her moving on from that to being Bernie's VP. But if I were to pick, it would be Bernie and her. Second choice is Barbara Lee. So I think Barbara Lee is... Let me see if I could bring up a video if it works. No, it's going to be too much. Yeah, I can't do it. But Barbara Lee was the only voice in Congress to be against the war in Afghanistan. The only person. If there is anybody that is anti-war, who you should trust, who you should look back in history and say, hey, this person has a fairly good track record, it's Barbara Lee and, of course, Bernie Sanders. Two people that have pushed back against establishment pressure, voted against what was popular at the time, and in hindsight have been correct on those issues. When you have politicians like that are not afraid to challenge the establishment and be correct when we look back 10 years later or 20 years later, these are people you have to invest your time and effort in. So Bernie Sanders, Barbara Lee, I think would be the perfect ticket. So that's my feeling on that. From Jacob Gillis, again, Super Chat, will candidates see Prime Minister Andrew Scheer, NDP or Green? Andrew Scheer is the worst possible conservative leader they could have chosen. Maxime Bernier really should have won the leadership of the Conservative Party. He's somebody that I can actually... Look, forget his message because it's terrible, but looking at it from strictly someone that does have some ideas, even if I think they're wrong ideas, he has his own ideas. He has a clear, distinct platform separate from the Liberal Party. Andrew Scheer so far and the Conservatives, all they've done is shit on everything Trudeau has done while offering nothing in return. And Scheer as leader, he's just, who is he? Most of Canada doesn't even know who he is because he's nobody. He's uninteresting. He doesn't have any ideas. He's boring. All he does, like I said, is try to push back on Trudeau on every little issue and doesn't offer anything in return. Now, are there issues to push Trudeau on? Of course, but not the ones that he is. So, I can't think of examples now, but I know there's been times where Andrew Scheer has attacked Trudeau on just the most ridiculous crap when there are actual things to attack him on. In terms of next year, though, next year's election in Canada, I think my chair's lowering here. I think it's going to be, I think Trudeau is going to win again, but I think it will likely be a minority government, not a majority government, unless Andrew Scheer is really, is even more terrible than I think he is. So that possibility is there. Also, the NDP has to continue not getting any support. I mean, the NDP right now are really not doing well. I think a lot of it is simply we are not in an election year. We are not in election. Excuse me. We're not in election mode, so we don't really see Jagmeet Singh out there. We see Andrew Scheer because he's the opposition, but Jagmeet Singh has to do a lot for the NDP to catch up, and I don't know if he has the ability to do that in the span of 12 months. But we're gonna find out. Greens obviously have no chance at forming government, and I also don't know if they're gonna get another MP in there. Elizabeth May is she's just her own person. she's really strong, and it's super hard to get other Greens as MPs. Though, you know what? I don't have much visibility on BC. I know in and around Victoria, there's a lot of support for Greens there. So it's possible that a Green may overtake an NDP in one of those ridings. But I don't know enough about BC and their entire electoral map to really understand if that possibility is there for next year. Jay Camacho again. Would you ever run for conservative progressive? I think he means progressive conservative. So in Ontario, we have the Progressive Conservative Party, which is not a progressive party. It's all name. So it is the Conservative Party. Doug Ford is as conservative as you could possibly get. No, I will never run as a progressive conservative. Okay, let me check. If there's more super chats coming in, then send them in. Let me move all my windows around to see if I can find the other chat window. All right, there's more here. This is from Patreon. Andrew Zygmunt Smith has more responses about the deplatforming stuff. I'll get back to you on there because it looks like a long conversation. I'm not going to read this paragraph, but I will reply to you on Patreon. Dara Parsavand, do you think Beto O'Rourke is right that Bernie's single-payer healthcare bill should allow indefinitely providers to be for-profit instead of requiring non-profit, as his bill does? I don't know. I haven't looked enough into it. So is Beto O'Rourke essentially asking for a private and public? Yes, I don't know enough about Beto O'Rourke's plan here to really say. All I can tell you is that you need some form of universal health care. It's still funny to me that this is even a debate. I mean, we've had it here forever, since the 60s. Canada's doing great. So, as I've said many times before, if you haven't seen me say this, I'll say it again. Even the Conservative Party here is not talking about getting rid of universal health care. I mean, they would be laughed out of the room. They would get 0 votes. Universal health care is incredibly popular. Once you have it, you don't go back. As far as I know, no country has gone back to a private-only system once they've gone with a universal system. Now, of course, parties have tried to defund healthcare and all that, but when they do that, guess what? The healthcare suffers. So you have to have proper funding of the universal healthcare system for it to work properly. Now, that said, the funding that goes into these universal systems is a lot less than what Americans currently pay right now for their healthcare. So you would be getting better healthcare that's universal, that costs less, which sounds like dreamland, but that's how a universal system works because you all pay into it. Your taxes are put into it. So if everyone that lives in that country is putting money into healthcare, yes, it saves you money because not everyone in the country is getting healthcare at the same time. So it works out. But I think everyone watching me understands this. Okay. I think that's it for Patreon. Let me see if there is more super chats. From Trey Brooks, Have you been watching any Michigan races? What is your opinion on them, especially the governor race? I haven't at all. Sorry. If you name some names, maybe they'll trigger something in my brain, but I don't. I haven't watched those specifically. David, debate Candace, please. I'm not. Here's the thing. I will never debate a dishonest actor because their whole purpose is to lie and confuse you and change the subject and really get a platform for themselves and their horrible ideas. Candace is just a grifter. I don't know if she believes what she's saying, but everything she says is a lie. She lies constantly. So why debate with someone who can just make up shit on the fly? I mean, how do you counteract somebody who can just make up stats and just lies constantly? Like, that isn't a debate. That is just, at that point, it's all just sophistry. It's all just presentation. Whoever presents the best. So I could go out there and say, make up a bunch of lies about how amazing certain left-wing policies are and just, pull stats out of the air. But I wouldn't do that. I would actually have to research. I would prepare properly, give actual data, actual anecdotes and situations and facts about what is happening or what effects policies have, how other countries have enacted certain policies and the effects that they've had. Candace wouldn't have to do any of that. All she would have to do is show up and lie her ass off. So to me, that isn't a debate. Also, I'm totally, as I said before, I'm for deplatforming fucking assholes. If you are a fascist, a racist, a white nationalist, look, I'll debate people on like tax rates or like things that are not rooted in hate of other people. But if you are somebody that pushes hate out there, then where's the debate? At that point, we're talking about morals. So to me, this isn't a debate. But if you want to hear me, debate conservatives, check out the... I'm on a roundtable radio show at this point almost once a week. And oftentimes it's me against at least two other conservatives on the panel. And the roundtables are super quick, so we can't get deep into the issues. But the people that I'm on those panels with are conservatives that actually have some principles and aren't making up lies and just bullshitting their way through it. They will correct themselves. They will admit when things have gone wrong for conservatives or whatever. So those are honest people. I will happily discuss issues or politics with those people who are honest in the debate. What's left? Okay, I'm going to close the Patreon thing now, so if you're sending on Patreon, please don't. Let me open up some random YouTube messages before I get out of here. So if you haven't watched my radio show yet or listened to it, it's every week, Sundays at 9 p.m. You can stream it live, 9 p.m. Eastern. Sundays, Sundays 9 p.m. Eastern. You can live stream it at newstalk1010.com, or I'll also just post it on YouTube afterwards, so you can check it there. But usually it's about 40 minutes of me just going off about whatever. This weekend, here's a little tidbit for you viewers right now. I hope to have on Mike Figueredo of Humanist Report, and we will talk about the midterms in one of the segments on this weekend's radio show. So check for that. Okay. Jay Camacho, David, what gel do you use? I don't use gel. I use it's like this hair moisturizer. So you like wet your hair and you put it on your hands and you rub it in your hair. And yeah, I don't like gel because it makes your hair crunchy. See, my hair doesn't crunch. It flows. I don't like crunchy hair. I don't think I missed anything else. All right, let me just pull some random shit out of there before we get out of here. Random shit. What do you think about Warren running against Bernie? Good question. This is from Hank R. Warren against Bernie. I kind of hope they figure this out before they run together, or before they both run separately. They will split the vote, the progressive vote. It would be perfect if the progressive vote is consolidated around one candidate and then the establishment vote is cut up between, Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, Kirsten Gillibrand, whoever the fuck else runs, Joe Biden. So hopefully that's what happens. Hopefully it's like Bernie and then 5 establishment candidates, and then they all split the vote. Bernie gets the vote. But even if it was Bernie and one other person, like Bernie and Kamala Harris, I still think Bernie would win. But if it was Kamala Harris, I think it would be a tighter race than some people might think. But yeah, Warren against Bernie, I don't know. If I'm choosing, obviously I'm picking Bernie over Elizabeth Warren. But I do think Elizabeth Warren is the second best choice in terms of candidates that are expected to run. So take that for what it's worth. Okay. I don't know. Somebody's butthurt about Tim Canova. No thanks, not reading that. David, do you think the government should be paid mean wage? Mean wage? Like the median wage? I don't know what that question means. Do you think it would be beneficial to have a number of progressives in a debate so group thinkers don't think corporatists are the reasonable ones? Let me try to understand that question. The chat keeps jumping, so I'm... Great. I lost that. I think you had a good question. Here it is. Do you think it would be beneficial to have a number of progressives in a debate so group thinkers don't think corporatists are the reasonable ones? Oh, I get what you're saying. So, but in terms of just that question alone, yeah, that makes sense. But the problem here is I don't really care what the group thinkers think because they are the minority. So the majority of people, when seeing someone like Bernie Sanders versus Harris plus Booker plus Biden, I think the majority of people would side with Bernie Sanders. I could care less what the MSNBC talking heads think. But in terms of your question, you are correct in thinking that if there were more progressives on the stage, then progressive ideas would seem more mainstream because of that. But I don't care. I don't care what the establishment press thinks because I don't think they have as much impact, especially in the next election, as they may have had in 2016. Okay, let me get, 2 more questions. Darnell Wilson posted a question. Okay, let me check Patreon to see if you posted this question, Darnell. I'm typing on the wrong typing board. Keyboard. Sometimes I get words wrong. That's what happens. Okay, let me check Patreon to see if that question is there. I must have already asked it. I don't see any new ones. Sarah Darnell, I don't know, or was it Darnell? Yeah, if you posted a question, I don't see it. Is it on the post? Because it's not there. Let me, but if you did, wherever your question is, I will answer it afterwards if I don't see it before the stream's over. I just want to get, some random other questions here. I support anyone that supports logic from True Tech. I'm with you, 100%. Jesus Zamora, what do you think about a living wage combined with a 32-hour work week? I think that sounds fantastic. People have this idea that we should work really hard, long days because that's how things are. That's what we should do. That you have to work 40 hours or you don't deserve to have a living or don't deserve to have a house or food. I completely disagree. We should all be able to live in a happy utopian life. No, clearly we don't. But we should try to get to that. I don't think people should be working 40 hours a week, especially if you don't enjoy the job. I mean, to me, that's the most important thing. You have to enjoy your job. So maybe people should work, let's say, 40 hours a week. Let's say, yes, 40 hours is what you should work. But do you enjoy your job? I think that's what's most important. You have to enjoy your job, and then we can figure out everything else. But we need to get to a place where people are freed up to change jobs, for example. Like a lot of people in the US right now, they're stuck in their job because of they need their healthcare coverage. In Canada, I don't have to worry about that. I worked for a big company where I would have had health insurance coverage, but because I was in Canada, I freely left that job when I began to hate it. So you need that freedom to be able to switch careers and move into something that you enjoy. Because, I mean, at least from my perspective, I can't imagine doing something that I don't enjoy, which is why I am doing this and not something else, because I enjoy doing this. So where I spend most of my time, I want it to be something that I truly enjoy doing. And I think everyone should have that opportunity. I was fortunate enough to have that. I have family that has been able to support me because of that. And a lot of people don't have that. And that bothers me. We need a society where people are free to do what they want to do. So any way to get to that, I'm all ears. Jay Camacho. David, would you ever consider debating Jimmy? On what? I'm not sure what we're debating. Let me clear my throat in this hot room first. No. I don't see the point in debating people that I think largely agree on the policies. There's definitely disagreements in terms of some strategy things and approaches to certain issues on voting. I mean, I think me and Jimmy are very different when it comes to how we see voting. To me, voting is a tool. It's not a representation of yourself. I mean, if it was, then nobody should vote for anybody because you can't vote for yourself. People have to vote for who best represents them. No one's going to be perfect, but who best represents you and who has the opportunity to actually win so that you can then pressure that person once they are in office. But other people see voting as a way to sort of like self-reflection or not self-reflection, but a way to represent themselves. Like it's almost like I don't even know how to explain it. It's almost like a spiritual experience. To me, voting is not a spiritual experience. It's a tool. You have to use the tool the best way you can use that tool. So we definitely have some different opinions on voting, but I don't see the point of debating them. Another super chat, Ruben Garcia. What do you think on Tulsi Gabbard running for president in 2020? And I just lost the question. In 2020. Also, what do you think on her questionable supposed relationship with Indian alt-right? Yeah, I've heard some. This is why I see comments about people saying, oh, Tulsi Gabbard should be in this discussion, or Bernie Tulsi. I've heard enough questionable things around some of her positions where I don't have a completely formed opinion on Tulsi Gabbard. So she does have a weird relationship with the Indian alt-right. There's been some other positions. I think she has a very, let's say, interesting position on Syria. But I don't know enough about all of these questions to really form a solid opinion on her. But when we get into 2020 and if she becomes a name, it's something that I will look more into and then form an opinion. But right now, I'm kind of open on her because right now I think we have good candidates already running or potentially running in Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. So for me, there's no reason to look elsewhere right now. I'm having a good time. I want to read more questions. But I also want to drink beer. So, got to balance these things. I don't know. Anybody else got? If my computer were to load properly, I would scroll up and look at the questions. Let me pull out an early one. Let's go all the way to the top or near the top. Just a long comment from somebody. From someone I haven't heard from yet. Nicholas Gillespie. Do you think Elizabeth Warren would be interested in being Bernie's VP pick, or do you think she wouldn't take that option? If it came down to the wire, I think she would take it. But I don't. I mean, Yeah, of course. So if we're talking about like Bernie Sanders and Bernie Sanders wins the nomination and he asks Elizabeth Warren to be his VP, yes, she will absolutely take it. But I don't think she'll bow out to be his VP or something like that. What I was thinking about earlier, this is kind of off topic, but it's in the ballpark. I think Bernie should launch his campaign with a VP. Has anyone done that before? Because I think it's a good idea. Now, the reason I thought that is because it would be with somebody who I don't see running for president, but would be a good VP, Barbara Lee. So I think if Bernie launched his campaign saying, if I win, Barbara Lee's my VP, I think that would be brilliant, because it gives you the ticket up front and you know who you're voting for. And it helps Bernie, honestly, with the black community, where he has a message that I think is strong, but he hasn't been able to communicate it as well as he could. And of course he has, great surrogates like Nina Turner as well. But Barbara Lee, with her track record on these progressive issues, with her not supporting Hillary or Bernie during the primaries, with her voting against the Afghanistan war, and with her having that connection to the black community, I think it would be a perfect ticket. So strategically, I think it would be a great move for Bernie to pick his VP before. But I could also see the arguments against that. So, any ideas I have, there's always going to be downsides or potential downsides. But it would be a move that really shakes up the race, and I think changes the whole landscape for how maybe campaigns are launched in the future. Jay Camacho again. You are a great, I was going to say patron, but great super chat. Maybe you're a patron too. I think you are, possibly. But you are fantastic. Thank you, sir. Are you a model? Drink beer. We are cool with it. The beer's like downstairs. I don't want to go get the beer. But no, I'm not a model. These questions to me are so weird because I didn't look. I was a fat-looking kid, like a chubby, short kid in high school. So I never got compliments about my looks. So when I see compliments about my looks, I just laugh because I'm just weird. I'm not used to it. Okay. Let me how about this? 2 more comments, and then I'm definitely out of here. This stuff is like addicting, though. Once I'm in here, it's like I don't want to get out. All right. 2 more random comments. I'm just trying to look for something that's different. Here's one from Shelby. What do I say to my friend who thinks Bernie is lying about being able to do everything he wants to do? But that's a good question. And I don't know, because I've encountered that myself. People just not believing Bernie Sanders, not believing his ability to enact these things. You have to be honest, say, yes, he himself has said this. So during 2016, he said the only way, or I'm paraphrasing here, but he essentially said the only way that I'll be able to push these things forward is if I have a group of people, a movement behind me to do that. A political revolution. That's why he keeps talking about a political revolution, because he is fully aware of the power of the establishment. So show your friend that. Show your friend that, look, Bernie's being honest. Bernie has told us that you're right. He wouldn't be able to do these things without the support of the people, which is just realistic. So if you show people how realistic Bernie is and show him his track record, going back to, the 80s on issues like gay rights, he is a one-of-a-kind politician. Really a one-of-a-kind person that we're going to look back at this time and people are going to be like, how did America not vote for him in 2016? Like, what is wrong with you people? That's what's going to end up happening. So we have to really soak in every moment right now that we have with Bernie Sanders, because he's not going to be here forever, but he is a fantastic person. Okay. Let me get one more. Chris Wynn, this is a good question because I do need to do this. Have you read Marx, or at least see Richard Wolff's videos on class analysis and labor? I have seen Richard Wolff's videos on class analysis and labor. I have learned a lot from Richard Wolff. I have not read Marx, but I do want to read. I know there's like a short version of Capital that I do want to read. So I will at some point do that. Actually, there was a book that was recommended. I think it was recommended on the Majority Report. Let me recommend it to you all now because I think my girlfriend's getting it for my birthday because she told me she was. Capitalist Realism. So look up Capitalist Realism. This is supposed to be a great short book on this. I'm typing on the wrong keyboard again. So this is supposed to be a good class analysis. Capitalist Realism, Is There No Alternative? Book by Mark Fisher. So this, I think it's like an 80-page book, and yeah, it gets into, I mean, it's not Marx, but it gets into that sort of analysis. So absolutely, I mean, if I always try to learn and grow and continue informing myself on exactly what is wrong with the system and potentially how to fix it, and maybe where in the future we can all go. So I think we should all be trying to educate ourselves in this stuff. Okay. Oh, also Chris Wynn says there's condensed, easier to read versions of Das Kapital, and there's always audiobooks. There you go. All right. Thank you all. Wolf packs are still alive. They're making a Medicare for All pack. Meg Paul, thank you. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Vote. 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 If you haven't voted yet, then you have to vote. I voted, not in America, but I voted a few weeks ago when there were municipal elections, and those are not, I mean, I won't say not important, but they are not as important as the elections you are currently facing. So you have to go out and vote. All right? Cool. Thanks for watching. I love you all. If any patrons have missed your question, put it in the comments. I'll get to you. I know one of you are really angry at me because of my responses. But look, I got to be honest. If I have a position on an issue that you don't agree with me on, I'm not just going to give in to your issue because you're a patron. I'm going to be honest with who I am and how I see things. And really, I'm going to be rational. This is the Rational National. See you later.